Good evening and welcome. I'm Bill Maley, the Brighton Town Supervisor, and I'm pleased to have everybody here for tonight's October 11th, 2017 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. Whether you're here in the audience tonight, and I see a good number of people, we've got some proclamations coming up in a minute, and I know many of you are here for those. But those of you that are watching at home on cable channel 12, or maybe you're streaming us on our live YouTube stream, we welcome you. We want you all to have the opportunity to review all of the same materials that we, the town board, are reviewing. If you're here in the room, tonight's agenda and all supporting materials are on the table in the back of the room. And if you are at home watching us on, again, cable channel 12 or on our YouTube stream, you can get all of the same materials which are posted on the Town of Brighton webpage at townofbrighton.org. So you will know exactly what we are working on tonight. We'll be going to our open forum in just a minute. And again, those of you that are here in the room, as well as those of you that are watching remotely, will have an opportunity to participate in that open forum. But the first thing I want to do is start with a pledge to the flag. I'm going to ask Councilman DePonzio to lead us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jason. Some housekeeping details first. In case of an emergency that requires evacuation, you'll hear the emergency alarm go off. Please leave the room immediately, leave Town Hall immediately, either by the door marked exit to my right. If you go out that door, go down the stairs, out the back door of Town Hall and away from the building. Or you can go out through either of the double doors in the rear of the room, go through the lobby, out the main front entrance of Town Hall, down the stairs, and again, away from the building. Now, if you are watching us on channel 12, it's rare but possible. You may experience technical difficulties with either the audio or the video or both. If that happens during the live broadcast, please contact Spectrum at 756-5000, 756-5000 to report any problems with the audio or video feed of tonight's live broadcast. As I mentioned, we will be going to the open forum very quickly, but I do have a couple of proclamations that I'd like to give. We're going to start tonight with a proclamation recognizing Friends of Public Libraries Week. And we have Jennifer Reese-Taggart and some of our board members. If you all want to come up, that would be great. Jennifer is the executive director of our library. It's always good to have you here. I'm going to read this proclamation and then we'll have a few words. Whereas the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library promote literacy, raise funds, and enhance the resources of the Brighton Memorial Library to continue to provide additional reading programs for children and adults, much needed equipment, and support for special events throughout the year. Whereas the work of the Friends highlights on an ongoing basis the fact that our Brighton Memorial Library is the cornerstone of our community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and to connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from all cultures and ages, past to the present. And whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services to all, including access to print and electronic materials, along with expert assistance in research, reader's advisory, and children's services. And whereas the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library, with their immense gift of time and commitment to the library, set an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Whereas it is the sense of this assembled town council to recognize that the quality and character of life in communities throughout our area is reflective of exemplary institutions like the Brighton Memorial Library and like the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library, whose purpose is dedicated to serving the community and the needs of its citizenry. Now, therefore, be it resolved that October 15th through 21st, 2017, is proclaimed as Friends of Libraries Week in the town of Brighton, and urges everyone to become members of the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library, and thanks the current members for all they do to make our library and our community great. And it's signed this 11th day of October 2017 by myself and by the members of the Brighton Town Board. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill.
Each of you.
Take this opportunity to say a few words. Thank you again, Bill, Louise, Jason, Jim, and Chris. Thank you for recognizing the Friends of Brighton Memorial Library with this proclamation. Both the Friends and library boards, along with library staff and the entire community, appreciate your strong support of BML. I'd like to take just a few minutes to say a few things that the Friends are too modest to mention. The Friends of BML are a very hardworking group of volunteers. We had over 950 programs last year, with the Friends funding the vast majority of them. They are also reliable and generous major donors to our annual capital campaign. Over the past few years, the Friends made capital campaign donations that have allowed us to purchase laptops for our computer lab, a DVD repair system, media equipment and carpeting in the Learning Center, and funds required to renovate the circulation desk. Most recently, Friends approved our capital campaign request for seed money to renovate the entrance foyer. The library's annual programming and capital campaign requests to Friends are financed through annual book sales, membership dues, and lots of volunteer hours, with, must be said, 95% of their proceeds coming back to the library. If you're not already, consider joining the Friends of BML. They're a very worthy library support group who ultimately contribute to our highly literate community. From myself and the Friends of BML, thank you for acknowledging their work.
Say a few more words now that Jennifer has said you're too modest too. Well, I'm really appreciative of all that you do. I'm proud to be a member of the Friends. I'm proud to take advantage of that and get my savings at your regular book sales. We'll put in a little plug for those, because that's another perk of being a friend. And truly, what you do enhances what Jennifer and the library staff are able to do and what the whole community gets out of the library. So thank you.
Thank you. And the next sale's in 2 weeks.
I'll be there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite Jamie Saunders, the Executive Director of Willow Domestic Violence Center. Jamie, how are you?
We're all heels to reach you.
You know, I'm going to have, yes, Chief Mark Henderson.
I didn't
come
bring
up
the
too,
shoes.
please. This is a proclamation recognizing October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas, since its designation in 1987, October has been recognized as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in order to increase awareness about the issue of domestic violence and to acknowledge that while we've made progress, there is more work that remains to be done in order to free all individuals from having to live in fear of violence and abuse. Whereas domestic violence victim advocates, domestic violence service providers, and domestic violence first responders have estimated that each year close to 13 million individuals in the United States are victims of intimate partner violence. Whereas more than 1 in 5 women and as many as 1 in 7 men in the United States have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner. And according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, an average of 3 women are killed by a current or former intimate partner every day in the United States. And that's a statistic that simply cannot stand. Whereas our society needs to do more to transform the way people think about domestic abuse by working towards changing our culture to strongly reject what is fundamentally an unacceptable crime and support programs and activities aimed at domestic violence intervention and domestic violence prevention in the United States. Whereas change begins in the grassroots communities of our country, and as members of this community of Brighton, we must stay committed to finding ways to support those who provide help to people of all ages on how to avoid or break free from a destructive relationship to build a future that is free of domestic violence. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Brighton Supervisor Bill Maley, and the members of our Town Council do hereby declare October to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the town of Brighton and extend our sincere gratitude to all who are providing support, shelter, and hope to survivors of domestic violence. And we strongly encourage those who are currently being subjected to domestic violence to seek assistance when they can safely by calling Willow Domestic Violence Center's 24-hour hotline at 585-222-SAFE, S-A-F-E, or by visiting their website at www.willowcenterny.org. This proclamation is signed this 11th day of October 2017 by myself and by my colleagues on the town board. Now, I do want to mention the reason that I called the chief up.
You want to go first, Jamie? Because I'm going to plug.
Okay. All right. Well, then let me present this to you, Jamie, with our gratitude, the community's gratitude for the work you do and so many others do at Willow.
Thank you so much.
The microphone is yours.
Well, thank you so much for this honor. It really means a lot to all of us. Brighton is an exemplary community, let me say. Willow Domestic Violence Center has been serving this community for nearly 4 decades, formerly known as Alternatives for Battered Women. And this is a pervasive issue. We reach more than 7,000 survivors right here in Monroe County each and every year. There's more than 50,000 calls to 911 for our incredible first responders who are right in the middle of it. And Brighton, you are facing what is an uncomfortable topic, and you are facing it head on. Your leadership is exemplary. We have our walk, which Chief will speak to, where our only town supervisor out of the entire county who comes every year is your town supervisor. Brighton Kiwanis Club is a tremendous supporter and has sponsored rooms at our shelter and has continued to support our programming. We have the Friends of Rachel Club at Brighton High School, where I'm an alum, so this is really close to my heart. When I come back to Brighton and I see how you are leaders in this cause, means so much. And the Friends of Rachel, who also raise not only toys and collections and toiletries for our families in shelter. Tonight we have 34 children staying in our shelter. We'll serve another 100 people tomorrow, both at our court program as well as our counseling center. But I must say your police chief is also exemplary, not only because of the day-to-day work that he does and how he is so accessible to survivors, but he's willing to also make fun of himself, which makes him more accessible and humanizes. But we know we can call Chief when we have some very difficult cases, and we've had them because they're in every single zip code. But your chief in particular has been a leader to get other chiefs in other towns and other communities to also step forward, collecting toys at the holiday time, as well as to support us in raising critical funds for our mission. So Brighton, you do us very proud, and we're just so grateful. Thank you.
So as pretty much all week when we were talking to the different media outlets. Willow is a phenomenal resource that we use, from a counseling perspective, from an emergency shelter perspective. The first responders go when the time is critical, but then there's something that we have to do, and we turn to Willow for that. And under Jamie's guidance and leadership, Willow has grown. There's a brand new shelter. The shelter did not come cheap. There's day-to-day operating expenses. And one of the fundraising efforts that you do every year is you get people to walk a mile in high heels. So this, I think, is now my 5th or 6th year of doing that. I learned last year that you do not go to a 4-inch heel because you will get hurt if you walk on a 4-inch heel. This year I'm going with a modest 2-inch heel. So, but I just checked my fundraising page. We have a challenge. It's a Chiefs challenge. The Irondequoit Police Chief, the Undersheriff, and myself are competing. I'm currently number 1. I'm just barely holding on. So I'm going to blast out my fundraising link, and then Saturday morning at 11 a.m. for the first time, there will be no snow as we walk in high heels this year. It'll be 75 degrees, and the effort is to draw attention to domestic violence. The challenge is to keep and fund a very valuable resource. Jamie, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Mark? They're bedazzled heels,
Yeah.
too. I forgot to mention.
I do need to mention just one more thing, because about the same time that Mark started walking in the Walk a Mile, Jamie approached me to see whether I would do it. I thought I was tall enough already, but apparently I need heels too. And I told Jamie, I said, if you can find me a pair of size 14 red pumps, I'm in. And Jamie, along with the many other skills that she has, found me a pair of size 14 red pumps. So I've been walking in them ever since. I absolutely encourage people to contribute to Mark. But, as Jamie said, even though I'm the only town supervisor who does walk in this event, I'd certainly appreciate it. Jamie would certainly appreciate it if you throw a little donation to my Walk a Mile page as well. We definitely want to get the chief number 1 in
I'm thinking about
law
donating a
enforcement.
pair of 4-inch heels, size 15, to your campaign. So. Pumps, aren't they just?
Jamie, thank you for everything that you do.
Mark, how did we donate?
Absolutely.
There's a link to the fundraising page. A number of people in this room have already done that. I'll get it out to the board by email. Thank you. Thanks.
And there's one other day that I think I do want to just make a brief mention of, and that is that today is National Coming Out Day. And this evening before the meeting, I had the opportunity to go down to the block party that the Gay Alliance of the Genesee Valley, who is no longer the Gay Alliance of the Genesee Valley, they are now the Out Alliance. And to celebrate Coming Out Day and to celebrate 45 years of providing service to the community, the Gay Alliance is now the Out Alliance. And I mention that only because we talk a lot about our core values here in Brighton. One of them is diversity, and how important it is that Brighton is an inclusive community, one that celebrates our diversity. And we certainly celebrate the role that the LGBTQ community plays in town, in our schools. I'm proud to wear this new lapel pin that they've issued for today, but I think it's particularly important as we watch the news coming out of Washington that in Brighton we did pass what is known as GENDA, the Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act, several years ago. The state of New York, unfortunately, has not yet passed that legislatively. Governor Cuomo issued an executive order mandating equal rights for all, including transgender individuals. But as we've seen, there are efforts being made in Washington to undermine equal rights for all. But I want to make it very clear that this is a welcoming community. It's welcoming to people of every ethnic background, to every race, every religious background, and to the LGBTQ community. It will stay that way. We are proud to have that gender law in place, and that law ensures, it includes in our civil rights legislation, transgender individuals as well as the entire LGBTQ community in housing, in accommodations, in employment rights that they do have here in Brighton, and they have it by law. So I just want to make note of that day. And now we'll move on with our agenda tonight to the open forum. During the open forum period, anyone here in the audience or anybody watching elsewhere has the opportunity to make a comment or ask a question about any matter, whether or not it's on our agenda this evening. Now, I would note that if you are here to comment on the 2018 town budget or the assessment rolls public hearings, those public hearings will be held just a little bit later on the agenda, and I would ask that you save your comments for those hearings. But if you would like to address the board during the open forum, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you. Come up to the podium if you would, and please give your name and address. Please be courteous. Try to make your comments as concise as possible. Please direct your comments to the board rather than to the audience, and please do not comment about particular employees of the town. Now, I would also note that if you're home and would like to call in to participate during the open forum, you can do so. The phone line is 303-3060. Someone will take your question or your comment and pass it along to me. Again, that's 303-3060. And if you're deaf or hearing impaired, you can call our TDD line at 784-5205. Again, our TDD line, 784-5205. However you participate, we welcome you to participate in our open forum. So is there anyone here that would like to address the board during the open forum? Judy?
Judy Schwartz, 179 Ashbourne Road. But before I begin, I just want to put in a wonderful plug for Image Out, the film festival that is going on. It started Friday night, it ends Sunday night. And I am proud to say that between Friday night and Monday night, I saw 11 movies, and between tomorrow night and Sunday night, I will see 11 more. They are absolutely wonderful. So we still have plenty of movies left. I have a feeling there might be some that are sold out, but you can go to the website and see what's what. Tickets are sold before every movie. You can buy them tomorrow night for Saturday or for Sunday. They have been just wonderful, and I am proud to say this is our 25th anniversary, which is really awesome. We are, aside from New York, and maybe even up with New York, we are the very best film festival in the state. Philadelphia doesn't even have a gay and lesbian film festival, which astonishes me. And it's been wonderful. So if anyone is interested, the guide is on the website. You can go and see the films for the remaining nights. So
And we have the brochure, the full
yes, I
brochure
brought some
out
over.
on our,
Right, I brought some over.
table
Good.
in the lobby.
I really encourage people to go and see them. So I have not spoken to my issue before at meetings, but I do have a brief comment to make on number 4, page 2 of 5, in the neg deck for the 1925 South Clinton Avenue project. I do not wish any response. I would just like to have you think about it all. So number 4, page 2 of 5, vegetation, fish, wildlife, significant habitats, threatened or endangered species, wetlands, floodplains. Quote, the property is located within a town EPOD. As described in the tree survey, the majority of the existing vegetation on the property does not consist of high-quality trees. The project will be subject to issuance of an EPOD permit from the Town Planning Board after review and approval of a tree mitigation plan to be provided by the applicant. To replace the loss of existing trees on the property, the applicant has offered to preserve and enhance a significant buffer area along the western boundary line of the property and to install attractive landscaping features throughout the remainder of the project site, end quote. For more years than I wish to count, I have heard and read the above statement in this type of document and as well at public hearings. The phrase, "does not consist of high-quality trees," troubles me greatly. This is a very subjective comment. You can use studies, guidebooks, arborists, etc., but trees provide habitat and supply food for the little remaining wildlife we have in our town. Trees are important for our health and quality of life. The cutting down of trees for proposals like this just push wildlife out of their habitat. We are a Tree City, USA, and to shrug off the quality of a substantial number of trees in proposal after proposal seems hypocritical, and as I said above, troubles me greatly. And I'd like this entered into the record.
Thank you, Judy. Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board during the open forum this evening? I don't believe we have received any phone calls, so we will continue with our agenda tonight. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's town board meeting agenda with the addition of the comments that Judy Schwartz just provided to the clerk to our list of communications?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros? Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Can I have a motion to approve and file the town board meeting minutes for the September 27, 2017 town board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio? Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Next, we have two public hearings tonight. Before I open those public hearings, I'm just want to, by the way, these public hearings first relate to the 2018 preliminary operating and capital improvement budget. And the second public hearing are the 2018 assessment rolls for service charges, maintenance charges, capital improvements, and sewer rent charges for special improvement districts. That's a mouthful. But they're related, and they both relate to the budget and to the assessment of taxes and other charges against real property here in the town. So we're not going to be sticklers. If anybody wants to comment, we're not going to question whether you're talking at the right public hearing, because they really are related. But we will, in just a couple minutes, open first the hearing on the budget itself and then the hearing on the assessment rolls. But I do want to say a few words. Then we're going to have our budget director give an abbreviated presentation, and then we will open the public hearing itself. So I do want to mention, again, we welcome your comments. Comments can be given here tonight, but comments can also be sent to the town clerk by email or by traditional mail, postmarked not later than October 25th, although I would encourage anybody that wants to mail to do so prior to October 25th, because I do expect the town board to take action on this budget on the evening of October 25th at our regular town board meeting. And this is the first of two public hearings on the budget for 2018. We will hold the second one on October 25th. The financial condition of the town is strong, and that financial strength will be preserved and enhanced through this budget. In many respects, the 2018 tentative budget is level or flat with 2017. There will be a small decrease in the tentative budget in the general fund tax levy. Your own tax rate may increase or more or less, depending largely on the special districts that your property resides in: sewer districts, water, fire, sidewalk, snowplow, sidewalk districts, refuse districts, and others that may apply to your property, and of course based on any changes to the assessed valuation of your property. But I will note that this tentative budget is in compliance with the 2018 New York State tax cap. I'm pleased that we are again performing the often difficult task of balancing fiscal control with the maintenance and enhancement of high-quality service and the continued financial strength of Brighton. Now, I did mention we will have the second public hearing on October 25th. I think it's important to note that copies of the tentative budget are available in the town clerk's office, available in the Brighton Memorial Library, and it's also available online at the town's website, www.townofbrighton.org. Again, these public hearings tonight and on the 25th will be televised live and then later rebroadcast on cable channel 12, and they can be streamed on the town's webpage on our YouTube feed. I mentioned our financial strength last meeting in my formal budget message, actually our formal budget message. It comes from our finance director and our budget director. I highlighted independent analysis of the town's fiscal strength and financial management from the New York State Comptroller's Fiscal Stress Monitoring System score, Moody's bond rating of Brighton as AA2, a very high bond rating, and the annual report from our independent auditor. Now, I would note that we do face challenges. We faced challenges for years that require us to continually focus our attention on financial matters, particularly in recent years. The slow growth and, frankly, in this past year, slight decline in the value of Brighton's tax base. And that's compared to increases in many items, including items that we're not able to control, greater than the inflation rate, particularly employee health care expenses. But having said that, this budget will protect Brighton's fiscal strength and demonstrates again the high level of financial management that guides so much of what we do as your local government leaders. I look forward to hearing public comment during this budget hearing process. And now I'll ask Roger to give a brief summary of the budget, and maybe we on the board can step back again.
Roger, can I ask you something before we step back? Yeah. Is what you're going to present tonight have changes from last time?
No, it's going to be the same information. Yeah. Okay, thank you. This is going to be an abbreviated overview of the... No, we're not. We're not until after. So we're going to do a quick run through on the highlights of the budget for 2018. This pie chart is titled Where Town Budget Dollars Come From. And I'll start with the largest section of the pie first, which is the real property tax, the large blue section. 62% of our revenues come from the property tax. And moving around to the left or clockwise, 15% of our money comes from the sales tax revenues, $3,800,000. Moving along, we've got 8% of our dollars coming from departmental income, fees, sales, and permits, about $2 million. Appropriated fund balance is 4.4%. Basically, that means we're drawing down balances that we've accumulated from past years. in order to comply with the New York State requirements. Next section is 3.8% mortgage tax, which is almost $1 million. And then moving along to the smaller items, intergovernmental charges, all other revenues, New York State aid, and appropriated reserve funds, federal aid, and interest income. So that's our sources of revenue. Now, by department, here's how our town dollars are spent. Once again, I'll start with the largest pie slice, which is the lower right. 33% goes for the police department, 27.5% highway operations. Then moving along, public works, a little over $3 million, so that does include the parks. Then we have the library at about $2 million, and then government general support, which is primarily people in this building who are supporting the running of the town. Then we have the recreation department, which is about $1 million, the justices, the town clerk, and finally the supervisor and town board. So that's our spending by department. This pie shows spending by category of spending. As you can see, 50% of all our dollars that we spend are wages. And this is true of any government organization where you're a service business and the people are the ones who are providing the service. So 50% of our spending goes for wages, about $12 million. And once again, going clockwise, employee benefits is about 25% of our spending. And then the smaller pie slices, supplies and materials, contractual services, debt service, equipment and capital outlay, utilities and telephone, that includes internet, and finally insurance and risk management and interfund transfers, which is basically an accounting entity. Okay. Now in terms of dollars, I know this is a little bit hard to read. I wish it was a little brighter, but the top 3 rows in this chart are the 3 funds that make up our town operating budget that we're talking about right now: the general fund, the highway fund, and the library fund. The authorized appropriations, which is the left column of numbers, shows you how many dollars each of those funds encompasses in terms of spending for the year, the total coming to just about $25 million exactly. Just below that group, the $25 million amount being the orange background, I've got a sort of a purple background to show you last year's number, which is $24,600,000. So we're up just a bit in appropriations. The next 2 columns are where we're getting money from, estimated revenues. For our first group for 2018 is about $9 million, and the number just below it is about $8.7 million. So revenues are up a little bit. Primarily that's sales tax. We're seeing an increase in sales tax revenues for next year. Appropriated fund balance is the same for each year. We're drawing down the fund balance equally in 2018 compared to 2017. And finally, the right-hand column is the amount to be raised in taxes. And our 2018 number is actually $1,000 lower than our 2017 number. So we're basically raising the same amount of taxes this coming year, as we are in 2017. The lower part of the chart shows our assessed value and tax rates. And you'll see the 2018 number in the left column compared to the 2017 number, and the difference being in the third column does show a slight decrease in dollars as far as assessed valuation, which is reflected as a 0.1% change. And what that does, as you go across the bottom row, it shows the tax rates that would result from that. And we end up with a small tax rate increase because of the change in the tax base. Okay. This chart shows not only the town operating fund, which we've been talking about up to this point, which is the top row, but it also shows the special districts and the total for the entire town operations. So going across the top row, you've got your town operating funds, 25 million, which we showed last slide. The special districts are the second row. We've got about $5 million in spending in the special districts, which Bill had enumerated, the refuse, the street lighting, and so on. And the sewer and the sidewalk are also included in this. The third row shows your total for the two. So we have about $30 million total budget with the town operating plus the special districts. And comparing that to the 2017 number, which is on the final row that goes all the way across, we're a little bit higher on appropriations. And then if you look over to the right, a little bit higher in the amount to be raised in taxes. That number's driven to a higher level by the special district charges. And finally, the change in the total tax levy, $261,000, and on a percentage base, a little over 1%. And as Bill mentioned, that $261,000 does fall within the New York State tax cap guidelines, so we've met that requirement. And that's it. So thank you very much, and that's a quick overview of the 2018 budget.
Thank you, Roger, for that presentation, and thank you again to you and to Suzanne Zaso, our finance director, for all the work you've done. And you're not finished yet, but the work you've done so far in preparing the 2018 town budget. So now I will declare the public hearing on the 2018 preliminary operating and capital improvement budget to be, well, Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given in this public hearing on the budget?
Yes, Supervisor, notice was published in the October 5th edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post.
Thank you, and notice is posted on our board outside. Then I declare the public hearing on the 2018 preliminary operating and capital improvement budget to be open. Is there anyone who would like to comment for the record in the public hearing on the budget? Anyone in the audience? Again, I don't believe we have yet received any written comments or any questions or comments from the telephone. Again, we will have another public hearing at the next meeting. Are there any, obviously you don't need to at this point, but are there any questions or comments from members of the board?
Are we having a workshop again?
I guess I would, we've had 2 workshops to date. We've had a meeting of the Finance Committee, and we will have another meeting of the Finance Committee next Tuesday. At this point, I hadn't anticipated the need for a town board workshop, but we will have the further discussion at the Finance Committee meeting, and obviously all board members as well as the public are welcome to be there. Any comments? Hearing none, then I declare tonight's public hearing on the 2018 preliminary operating and capital improvement budget to be closed. We will again hold another public hearing 2 weeks from tonight. Now, I will again ask the town clerk, has the legal notice for the 2018 assessment roll public hearing been published and posted?
Yes, Supervisor, again, this was also in the October 5th edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post.
Thank you. And based on notice having been given, I declare the public hearing on the 2018 assessment rolls for service charges, maintenance charges, capital improvements, and sewer rent charges for special improvement districts to be open. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment for the record on that public hearing? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from members of the board? Again, we will have a second iteration of this public hearing 2 weeks from tonight. But hearing no comments, I declare the public hearing on the 2018 assessment rolls for service charges, maintenance charges, capital improvements, and sewer rent charges for special improvement districts to be closed. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda, bids. Jim.
Yes. Next item is to authorize a solicitation for proposals to provide construction services for the Highway Operations Center storage building. This would be a siding replacement project. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. We now have 3 items of communication, the 2 that are listed on your agenda and the additional one from Judy Schwartz from her open forum presentation. The first correspondence from Dr. Ann Kress, president of MCC, dated September 21st, 2017, thanking me for attending the college's annual September 11th memorial service. If you've been out to see the college's 9/11 memorial, it really is a unique takes advantage of the environment and the sun, the rays of the sun. You can see it on any day, but seeing it on September 11th each year, when the shadows of a gap, of a designed gap in their memorial shine through on the surface where a marbleized stone outline of the World Trade Center buildings coincides with that shadow is really something to see. And I give so much credit not only to Dr. Kress and her predecessor, but also to the student body at MCC who started this memorial and this annual memorial ceremony and have continued it now 16 years later. So it was, as always, I appreciated being invited, and it's a moving experience to be there. I would note also that Judge Karen Morris, who is a member of the faculty at MCC, was also there that morning. In addition, we have the 2016 annual report from the New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal, NYMIR, which is a consortium, an insurance reciprocal in insurance terms of towns, cities, counties, various government jurisdictions throughout New York State that has been providing casualty, liability, and other insurance certificates to us as a town and to many, many other jurisdictions throughout the state. They too have a very high financial rating, and they provide us with their annual report each year. And the complete report, although it's not in your packet, can be viewed in the town clerk's office. So we have a actually, did we get it? I'm not sure we have a motion to receive and file all of those.
No.
yet.
Can I ask you
Motion?
something?
Well, let's have a motion first.
So moved.
Second.
Now we can have discussion. Louise?
You only got 2 letters this past 2 weeks?
There were 2 letters that are being received into communications tonight, yes. There are, I get various communications of various kinds, but the noting of communications really is not it's not a legal requirement. It's something to get in the record various items of interest to the community.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Committee reports. The Community Services Committee. Chris?
Bill, our next meeting is a special meeting, which will be tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 at the Rose Garden here on the Town Hall campus to discuss with members of the board, as may wish to attend, and also largely the Rose Lawn Neighborhood Association, where that garden was originated from. And they come in and give us their ideas about what's most appropriate for use of that space and how we're going to maintain it and beautify it. I see that it's been beautified significantly already, but we'll see what that community would like us to do with it, and to look at what our own plans are as well. So that's tomorrow at 1:30 here on town campus. Next meeting after that is October 18th, next Wednesday at 9:30, and the public is invited. Also, along the lines of community services are the recreational programs that are upcoming here on Friday. The 20th, which would be next Friday from 4 to 5 o'clock p.m., is the sensory-friendly trick-or-treating here at Town Hall. Costumes are optional. There will be Halloween houses to visit by the children with trick-or-treats available, or treats available for young kids who don't trick. For our young friends who might be overwhelmed with the traditional activities of our fall festival, which is the following day, there won't be any music and the lights will be on. Space is limited, but all we ask, though, is that you register online with your child's and come. It's free. We ask, though, that a donation to the food cupboard be brought. The following day is our Fall Family Festival. That's a great event here at Town Hall. On the 21st, Saturday, from 10 to 11:30 a.m., there's a costume parade, there's clowning, ballooning, pony rides, and a number of other events as well. And the following week is the Halloween Haunted House. But first, and this is on the 27th, there's the Happy House from 5 to 6 o'clock p.m. at the Buckland Farmhouse. It's a haunted house with the lights on, and it's meant to be spooky but not scary. Then later in the evening from 6 to 9 is our traditional Halloween haunted house there at the Buckland Farmhouse at 1341 Westfall Road. And again, they ask that that donations to the food cupboard be brought if you're so inclined.
Thanks, Chris. And yeah, you've given the update on when the next meetings, both of them are. Finance, Jason.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Tuesday, October 3rd. Each of the items that were discussed will be and were presented during tonight's board meeting. We discussed the budget at length during our FASC meeting, and we also reviewed the bid that the board just approved. And in addition to the items that are on the agenda, we also reviewed the town clerk's request for town board action to authorize the supervisor to execute agreements with Toshiba to lease 7 multifunction printers and copiers within various town departments, inclusive of maintenance services. And that's under the Suffolk BOCES contract that we're able to piggyback off of. That's going to be coming up at a future meeting for a vote. Our next meeting will be next Tuesday, as we mentioned, October 17th. We meet at 3:30 in the afternoon in the Stage Conference Room, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks very much, Jason. Louise, Public Safety?
Yes, Public Safety met this past Tuesday morning, and at the open forum, Martha Mock and Joe Anderson from the Homeacres subdivision discussed their concerns regarding traffic safety, speeding, and the problems with people using the neighborhood as a cut-through. They are looking for traffic calming measures and suggestions on solving these problems. Chief Henderson is going to collect traffic data and review the data with Martha about speed and volume, and he will provide enforcement detail to the neighborhood when data and staffing warrant. Networking, Brighton Fire, there were 2,024 calls to date this year, and they thanked all who came to their open house last weekend. Brighton DPW leaf collection to start next week. Paving on Willow Crest is being done, and it's anticipated that the Elmwood Avenue project will be wrapping up soon. Brighton Police, 2 words, all's good. And old business, special events, Captain Klein stated that, from the police department, stated that September 9th homecoming went well. He also thanked all who helped out during his medical leave. The matter of reestablishing garage fire separation from residential construction, Tim Keefe will be finalizing this proposal and send it to the town board to set a public hearing. New business, the traffic calming on South Landing Road. Chief Henderson shared the traffic data, which was shared with the residents. A matter of Corbett's Glen Park Lane cul-de-sac parking restriction. The matter is before the town board tonight for a public hearing. There was a matter about Mandy Lane and Woodgate Terrace, which is in East Brighton. Tim Keefe had a discussion with a resident in this neighborhood about adding crosswalks and sidewalks to Landing Road at Mandy Lane and Woodgate Terrace so that school-age children can safely walk to school. Tim will ask the resident to attend next month's meeting to discuss this further. The next time and date of the next public safety is September 14th in the downstairs meeting room at 8 o'clock in the morning.
You said September 14th.
I said, yes, I did.
You mean November 4th? You said September.
I'm sorry,
Just to
November. It
clarify.
says November. I thought I said. Can't read either, okay. There's one thing I want to add, which I should have added at the end of Chris's, is that this Saturday is our electronics and our shredding event. It's from 9 to 12 in the parking lot of the Department of Public Works Park down the street at 1941 Elmwood Avenue. I've gotten lots of phone calls about it, but I want to really emphasize, if you have shredding, please, please, please come, because I was informed yesterday that if they don't collect 16,000 pounds, we have to pay $600. So everybody bring your shredding. It's coming Saturday.
Okay.
Thank you, Louise. Jim, Public Works?
Yes, Public Works met just a week ago today, and at that time we had 3 major items under old business. One was a further review of the incentive zoning proposal for 1923 South Clinton Avenue. You, of course, Bill, had to recuse yourself from that. But we had a good discussion with the staff. They subsequently had another meeting following that with the Public Works staff, which met with good results, because that item is on tonight's agenda. The next item was the Monroe County Iceplex addition, and the committee reviewed the county's request to be a lead agency on that proposed addition, and we also have that on tonight's agenda as well. And the next item was the Clean Energy Communities benchmarking. The committee reviewed the proposed local law regarding energy benchmarking for municipal buildings, and that item also is now slated for tonight's agenda as well. And then the last item was the tree at 166 Hampshire Drive, which we had to refer over to the Tree Council. It's a rather large-sized tree, but it's a rather hazardous condition and needs immediate attention. Tim, was anything, any results yet from the council, or have they had a chance to review this?
Where we are, Jim, is that it will be referred to the Tree Council for the next loop, which will be, in November. So that's when we'll get the verdict and begin proceeding with the public notices to the folks.
Okay, thank you. And our next committee meeting will be Tuesday, November 7th, 9 a.m. in the lower level community meeting room. And if we have a difficulty with that, that's also election day. We may be in the stage conference room, I believe. Yeah. Because they're going to need that room downstairs.
But we will be meeting
Yeah.
on election.
At 9 o'clock. All right. That concludes it, Bill.
Thank you, Jim. New business. Jason, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, Bill, earlier today I reviewed claims totaling $556,037.46. Notable claims include to the Depository Trust Company, in the amount of $115,871.89, representing principal and interest payment for the Serial 2015 bond, which was used to finance various capital improvements at the Ops Center, the library HVAC system, and a dump truck purchase here for our Highway Department. Also to Paris Kerwin Associates in the amount of $93,463.54, representing our quarterly commercial insurance premium. Also to Cycle Stop Incorporated in the amount of $25,043, representing the new 2017 motorcycle for the police department. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion on those? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to approve a transfer of funds totaling $3,990 from the various Highway Department accounts to the Department of Public Works Tree Program account to support the removal of hazardous and/or dead trees within the town right-of-way, town highway right-of-way. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Are these already designated trees? Are these trees already pointed out that have to be removed?
If you look at the communication, Louise, is for hazardous and dead trees. So it's a combination of ones that do not necessarily have to be taken to the tree council, as well as ones that will still be there. It's been a busy year. That's why the request to, to amend the budget or to transfer these funds because of the windstorm in, in the springtime. So we're still seeing effects of that.
And Tim, at the Public Works meeting, we talked about one particular dead tree that was in need of removal. Was it?
Yeah,
is
at
this
Fireside.
included in those?
That was the one that was
It
on
will
the
be.
agenda.
Yeah, it will be, Chris.
That's part of the funding involved here.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks. Any other comments? We have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is to authorize the supervisor to execute consent from agreeing to Monroe County as lead agency relating to the Lattimore Nazareth Addition Project at the Bill Graves Regional Iceplex. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Is this something, what exactly are they doing? They're putting an addition of what, another ice rink or?
Not another ice rink. It is a combination of facilities that will be used by Lattimore Physical Therapy related to sports fitness, as well as some facilities to accommodate Nazareth College's use of the property for their hockey program. This is not, work had been commenced on the project. And as we all know, the ownership, the structure of the ice arena has been a challenging one from the beginning. However, the necessary seeker approvals were not received prior to the start of construction. Now, Monroe County would be serving as the lead agency since its property relates to MCC and their sports development. I guess that's an LDC. And so Monroe County is proposed to act as lead agency, and what we are being asked to do is agree to that. So that's under seeker, under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Is that advisable?
I think it is. I think they are the appropriate agency, and as we do have communication from our environmental liaison officer, Ramsey Boehner, recommending that we do approve them as lead agency.
And this was discussed at Public Works, as Jim has indicated.
Correct.
Are they up to date with their taxes?
Yes, actually, they are.
They are.
Under the current, the current management, a couple of years ago, management of that facility changed, and the current management has been much better, both about paying their pilot charges to us, as well as communicating in general. So, yes, yes, they are. Any other comments?
Yeah, let me add one.
Oh, sure, Jim.
Louise, you asked a very good series of questions. Bill came back with some very good clarification on an item that could quickly pass on a resolution, and the public out there doesn't have an idea of what that was all about. So that was a good question, good series of questions, good responses. Bill, I just thought I'd make that comment. That's what I like about local government.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No further comments, then Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to set October 25th as a public hearing date to consider proposed energy benchmarking for municipal buildings local law. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
I have some questions. Again, how many buildings are we talking about?
We are talking about, we will be gathering data based on RG&E billing material for all of our buildings. I believe the law does have a threshold. The defined term covered municipal building is defined to mean 1,000 square feet or larger in size. So, a storage shed that doesn't have power, or even one that does, that is less than 1,000 square feet, would not be covered, but it would cover, it would cover everything from town hall and the highway department building down to smaller buildings like the storage facility that's down at Buckland Park. And the goal really is to, and we've talked about this before, this is one of the 10 potential, and we are getting close to reaching the threshold of 4, which will qualify us for certain grant opportunities. But, demonstrating that the town of Brighton is making substantial progress towards sustainability goals. The thrust here is that we'll be able to study the data and, publicly observe the progress that we are making as a municipality towards becoming more sustainable. Now, as we know, and we face challenges with that, RG&E and the municipal lighting system not being tariffed for LED lights being a major one. Lights aren't covered by this, municipal buildings are, but again, our goal is to be able to see what we are doing as a community to become more energy efficient.
We cannot include Brookside, correct?
It's actually, it is owned or occupied
School.
by the town. So we occupy that facility, and Ken, my interpretation of the law, we may have to work with the school district and come up with a methodology for determining how much of their electric bill, because they don't break out a separate electrical service for our portion of Brookside, but we would, yes, as long as we're occupying the Brookside building, that would be one of the areas that we would cover.
So it would basically be this building, the Ops Center, and Brookside?
No, it would be many other buildings. It would include again, the storage building at Buckland Park. It would include our lodges at each of the parks.
Buckland House itself?
I'm sorry?
Buckland House itself?
Buckland House itself.
What if one department uses more electricity than another in a building?
Well,
Because it said
different,
that that's a way of keeping track.
different buildings obviously currently have different needs, and to a certain extent, the more a building is used, actual use may affect energy usage. If a building is, has 10 events in a week, and then the next year it has 15 events in that week, the lights are going to be on, the heat may be turned up higher during those times. So it's a little bit challenging to compare apples to apples, but the goal is to have that data, and yes, that's something that, as supervisor, I would certainly be discussing with our department heads and making them aware of the results of that benchmarking.
Okay. Because that was one of the things he talked about here, is the utility use by department.
Correct. Okay. Any other comments? And we have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is for an application to seek New York State Controller's approval relating to the financing of the Browncroft Lighting District. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town before us.
Second?
This is, I think, the final step in the formation, well, at least hopefully the final step or close to it in the formation of the Browncroft Lighting District, a small lighting district which will, it borders on the city of Rochester. The city of Rochester has put in some new lighting, and I believe 8 properties in the immediate bordering area want to have the same lighting, and to facilitate the funding of that, we will be forming this Browncroft Lighting District. And because the state controller doesn't have benchmark rates for lighting districts, we need to get their approval before we go out and finance these improvements. So we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. The next matter is a proposed negative declaration under seeker for the project known as 1925 South Clinton Avenue. Again, because I am recusing myself on this project, I will leave the room and will ask Councilmember Vogel to lead this discussion. Once you've finished, I'll be back in my office.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, this next item is a proposed negative declaration for the project known as 1925 South Clinton Avenue, as Bill said. This has been an application before the Town Council and the Public Works Committee for a number of months, and I'd look for a proposal.
Yes, Jim, with respect to the proposed negative declaration for the project known as 1925 South Clinton Avenue, I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Any comments on this at this point in time?
I think it's important that you talk about what the final amenities are, or the ones that we have now.
So the proposal before the board right now is simply to act on the State Environmental Quality Review Act step of declaring that there will not likely be a significant environmental impact. What we discussed with the project sponsor is anticipating that at our next meeting or the meeting thereafter, depending upon how quickly we can get together the necessary documents, including the amenity agreement and other draft conditions of the incentive zoning regulations, that we would then be taking action at that time. So at this moment in time, the amenities and the incentive zoning proposal itself is not being voted on. It is not before the board to be voted on this evening. This is simply to take care of the environmental aspects and to, if the board so agrees, declare that there will not likely be a significant adverse environmental impact, and allow the project then to proceed without having to prepare a full environmental impact statement.
Any other comments or questions? None, I'll ask Dan, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye?
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
All right, with that, we could retrieve the supervisor. While we're waiting, again, Louise, the recycling will begin at 9 o'clock, goes until noon. This is for paper as well as,
And electronics. And I was talking to the people at the shredding. They said that they are bringing the one truck that has the shredder in it. They are bringing a second truck with a lot of extra totes so that we don't run into the same problem again.
good.
What's the tonnage been last couple of times?
The last time was 16,000 pounds.
And
Oh.
what was the minimum to avoid your $600 charge?
12,000. But usually, why I said what I did was because usually the second one in the year isn't as much as the spring cleaning one
That's
at
true.
the beginning of the year. So that, you know, it's almost, I was telling Mark that I almost put an ad in the paper, in the DNC, but I really restrained myself because, because of the other problems. But I just hope that the show up is
Will
the
they
same.
will they be setting up a little bit before 9 o'clock?
Well, we will be,
Challenges
the last couple of times, the trucks, the Maven has always showed up before 9, but,
Because we've had a problem in the past recent times with people lining up and wanting to leave their,
yeah, what we've done is, and with the Explorers, is if the people were amenable to it, we would take the bags out of their car and have them waiting for the truck, if the truck wasn't there, because one of us would always be there.
right?
But,
I guess I would ask that you encourage them to be a few minutes early. It's been, somewhat of a challenge when they've not gotten there until 9 o'clock. In any event, okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to set November 8, 2017 as the public hearing date to consider proposed Park Lane parking restrictions local law. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
I think I heard Louise.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's
Louise?
right.
Yep.
This will establish no parking restrictions on and very immediately adjacent to the cul-de-sac at the end of Park Lane. The law references the specific addresses that will be the boundary of these parking restrictions. But the goal is to make sure that that we don't have Corbett's Glen visitors parking in that back cul-de-sac, making it difficult for people there to use the street itself. That public hearing would be held on November 8th.
wouldn't it be better to have it from 145 down to the cul-de-sac?
Had conversations with the residents there, and it was really their wish to have it just on the immediate cul-de-sac itself. Spoke with Sherry Kraus and some others, and it was really their intent to cover only the immediate cul-de-sac.
Is that for all the time?
Yes,
Even their own guests can't park?
yes. And I think that may be part of why they didn't want to extend it further.
Yeah.
Where's the entry to the park? Right down at the end here or over here?
Well, that's not the primary
I know that,
entrance to the
but
park.
that's what they're using it
But
for.
that's what they're using it for, and they go right through there, and you can access the trail there. But obviously, that really isn't where we want, and certainly not where the neighbors want people to park. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor. A couple things I want to talk about. First, leaf pickup. Always this time of year, we spend a lot of time talking about leaf pickup. I'll write about it, have written about it for my various public columns. The town's webpage has a lot of information about leaf pickup on it. And in a sense, leaf pickup is sort of an extension of our lawn and garden debris. And other than that, those times of year when there is just so much snow that our crews are plowing and can't break free to pick up lawn and garden debris, other than in the dead of winter, we're out there doing that work. But starting on Monday, our official leaf removal season begins. And we do that with a variety of heavy equipment, including our new Vactor, which is a leaf vacuum system. By the way, one of the points I want to make is the Vactor really is only for leaves. It's not for branches. And everybody loves pumpkin and pumpkin spice this time of year, but it is not for pumpkins. So please, separate your leaves. If you have leaves and branches or leaves and pumpkins or all of the above, you can put the pumpkins with the branches. But please don't put the leaves with the pumpkins or the branches. Our crews will have to separate them themselves, and that will slow them down. Leaves, please. We talk about this every year. It is very important. Please do not put your leaves in the street. Leaves must be piled on the grass, whether it's on the grass, so-called tree lawn, between your sidewalk and the pavement of the street, or on your actual lawn, for a number of reasons. One, leaves in the street, especially large leaf piles, become a safety hazard. They become a hazard for drivers because they artificially narrow down the road, and in fact, in some extreme cases, to the point where emergency vehicles may have difficulty getting through. But they're also a hazard to pedestrians and to cyclists. Cyclists have to swerve to avoid them. Cars swerve to avoid them. This time of year, as we saw earlier this week, is a time of year we sometimes get very heavy rains, and leaves that are piled in the street can clog our storm drains, causing street and neighborhood flooding. So for those reasons, and frankly for the fact that it's against the law, please do not pile leaves in the street. Obviously, they shouldn't block the sidewalk either, but they really need to be piled on the grass. We don't require you to containerize your leaves. Some communities do. However, I want to encourage, especially if you have just a small quantity of leaves, to put them in the big brown paper bags that you can buy at hardware and home stores, or in trash cans or other appropriate containers. We do have a separate truck that is exclusively dedicated to picking up containerized leaves. Why should you containerize if you can? Well, there's a number of reasons. One, that truck is able to circulate through the town more frequently. So, in general, your containerized leaves will get picked up quicker than leaves that are simply piled out on your lawn. Obviously, leaves that are containerized are less likely to blow around in heavy winds, and in general, it keeps the neighborhood looking neater rather than having leaf piles that wind up blowing everywhere. So while you certainly can, and I understand, particularly when you get to the peak season and you have large amounts of leaves, it's just the reason we don't require you to containerize is we know it's not a practical or an easy thing for people to do. So we do have separate crews, including our Vactor, that will pick up the bulk leaves. I think it's important to note, just based on, it's hard to schedule. People ask us, well, am I on Monday or Tuesday for pickup? The volume of leaves varies greatly through the season. If we did just you're on this day, you're on that day, at some times of the year, early in the season, our crews might be done with that area at noon, and then we'd have to find other work for them. We want our crews to be out picking up leaves all day that they're working, including overtime, and we had in our budget this year, and we will have in our budget again next year, significant overtime to permit Saturday work on those leaves. But, and at peak season, there are simply too many leaves to be able to get around the town, particularly, again, for the bulk pickup. Realistically, and we try to be as realistic as we can, many communities don't pick up leaves. Many communities allow waste management to pick up leaves, put them in the landfill. We pick up the leaves, they're composted, and they're not thrown back in a landfill where they really don't belong. We will come around 3 to 4 times during the season to pick up your bulk leaves. We will come around significantly more often than that with the packer truck to pick up containerized leaves. Please understand, we don't quit when the snow flies. We may spend some time salting and plowing, but just as soon as the road work is finished to keep our streets and highways safe, our highway crews will be back out picking up leaves. It's harder when they're buried in snow, but it doesn't stop them, and they will be out. So I know it's concerning. You see the snow and you think, oh my goodness, I've still got leaves piled out there. Are they going to be left there all winter long? No. If you put out leaves, now if you put out leaves in January, I can't guarantee that they won't sit out there all season long. But if you get your leaves out in the fall or even into early December, when they fall, we know they're falling later. We know our climate is changing, and therefore the season keeps getting later. Unfortunately, the snow doesn't keep getting later, or some years it doesn't. But we will keep coming through to pick up those leaves until they have been picked up. But it will probably be 3 to 4 times during the course of the year for bulk leaves. If you want to know where our trucks are, we do on our webpage have separate maps of the town, both for bulk leaf pickup and containerized leaf pickup. We go from west to east and then head back to the west each cycle. So you can track where our trucks are, where they're moving, where they're going to be that day and the next day. And we try to update that every day so that our residents have an idea of where our trucks are going to be working. So it is one of the two, well, certainly major, we have more than that, but it is a major, major effort that our highway department does every year. Our crews work hard. I appreciate all the work that they do. I appreciate it when the neighbors, give them a thumbs up or, sometimes offer them water or whatnot. They're working hard and that is appreciated. If you have questions or concerns, you can call us. Tim, that number that they should call.
couple different ways, Supervisor, that we can handle it. You know, they can email as well. I second the thought of using the website, which is a good guide for when our leaf pickup operations will be in their neighborhoods. 784-5280 is the main line at our Highway and Sewer Operations Center. Dispatcher can handle the calls, talk to foreman, or you can call me directly, 784-5223. If there's a need and there's a way I can help, I'm always there to try to assist as well.
Thanks very much, Tim. I appreciate that. Next thing I want to talk about is we talked about it a moment ago, sustainability, climate change. The President is systematically rolling back regulations and enforcement that has been built up over many years at great effort with action coordinated between government, industry, activists, aimed at addressing climate change. If we haven't learned by hurricanes, fires, unprecedented fires in Northern California that have already involved more fatalities than some of those landfalling hurricanes have, it is very clear that we owe it to protect the Earth's environment, and that does involve regulation and laws that make sure that our economic growth does not come at the expense of the environment. Frankly, some of the fastest growing areas of the U.S. economy have been areas focused on sustainable energy development. In Brighton, I have signed on as a climate mayor. We are a climate smart community. We are working towards these sustainability goals. We're engaged in a variety of activities designed to make us a more sustainable community. And we're not going to let that lapse simply because the federal government has decided that it's not important. Finally, I just want to, we talk a lot about our great schools, and every semester, the law and government class at the high school has an assignment to write to an elected official. I'm sure many of them choose to write to the president. Some of them choose to write to the town supervisor, and I really greatly appreciate that. For those of you that are out there sort of wondering, overwhelmingly, and this has been true for several years, and I think it reflects concerns of people of all ages, their concerns have been traffic related. Our students are out walking, they're out riding their bikes, they see the 12 corners, how challenging that is, they see how hard our crossing guards work, and they identify concerns that relate to safety, to traffic safety. So I hope we'll all take a word from the wise. Those students may be wiser than their years. We talk about it a lot when we're out with neighborhoods. The chief and I were just in the Eastbrook condominium neighborhood last week. And one of the things we know is traffic tickets in neighborhoods overwhelmingly are written against people who live in the neighborhood. I hear from neighborhoods that are essentially cul-de-sacs about speeding, and I say, you understand that the people that are driving in your neighborhood are people that live here, and they do know that. So listen to our students. I go in and participate in their class every semester. I conduct a mock town board meeting, get the students involved in the class. But I really find it very valuable to see what they're writing and the concerns. Louise, I'll share some of those. You asked about correspondence. Next meeting, I'll share those letters from the students, because I think it really gives us insight as to what's on the mind of 17, 18-year-old students in Brighton. It's always a pleasure to be in that classroom and interact with them. That's all I have tonight. Ken, matters of the attorney to the town.
No, I don't have it.
Thank you. Dan, matters of the clerk.
Nothing this evening?
Matters of the town board.
Nothing further?
I have one thing.
Sure.
I was contacted by 3 different people regarding the recycling events being held on Saturday. These people were Orthodox Jews, and they wanted to know why we haven't tried to make some arrangements so that they could participate as well. And I told them that I had promised, in fact, a couple of people that I really was going to work on it, and I did. And I found a solution I thought would work, but it was turned down by the supervisor. And so I don't know if I can find, well, I can't have another one for this time. Robin will be taking over my spot on the town board, and she said that she would be trying to find a solution.
Louise, I'd like you to explain that, because you have heard from people for many, many years. You have scheduled these events on Saturdays, which is Shabbos in the Orthodox tradition. And
I'm telling you that I did find a solution, that we were not looking for it very actively before, but now we are. And I had told them that I thought I did have a solution. And yes, I've had these for several years, and I did not come up with one. Now I did. So it's something that I'm going to still be working on, even though I won't be on the board. Thank you.
we always want to find ways to accommodate all of the community, and I appreciate certainly the Orthodox community wanting to participate in these events. And again, I'm still not quite sure what solution you're talking about.
Oh, come on, I was in your office and I told it to you.
But we would, I look forward, going forward, to finding an opportunity to accommodate everyone in the community. We have nothing further. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Thank you very much. Our next meeting will be held on October 25th at 7 o'clock right here. Have a great evening, everybody.